Chapter 1. The Cold and Powerful Millionaire. New York, the city of skyscrapers and streets that never sleep, where dreams can either come true or shatter in an instant. Amidst the bustling life and endless luxury, Jack Harrington is a name that cannot be overlooked. The young CEO of Harrington Tech, a multi-billion-dollar tech conglomerate, frequently graces the covers of financial magazines, serving as an ideal role model for ambitious youth. Jack has it all: fame, wealth, and power. But behind the facade of success lies a loneliness no one knows about. Lavish parties and high society gatherings fail to fill the void within him. His penthouse, perched atop a high-rise with a view of New York's dazzling nightscape, greets him with nothing but cold walls when he steps inside. In Jack's world, there is no room for love or emotions. He is practical, even rigid. To him, everything can be measured in numbers, until a financial crisis strikes, pushing Harrington Tech to the brink of collapse. Shareholders begin applying pressure, partners gradually withdraw, and faith in Jack's leadership wavers more than ever. "You need a stable image, Jack." The words of Thomas Harrington, Jack's father and the former chairman of the company, still echo in his mind. Thomas believes Jack needs a woman by his side to reassure the public and investors. A solid family will restore shareholder confidence. The idea irritates Jack. To him, marriage is just a political game he has no time for. But as the pressure mounts, Jack knows he cannot avoid it forever. One winter morning, Jack steps into a small cafe on the corner of Greenwich, a place he often visits to find a moment of peace amid the city's chaos. Outside, light snow falls, while inside, the warm aroma of coffee fills the air. Amelia Dawson, a waitress with soft brown curls, bright eyes, and a gentle smile, is busy with her work. She is unlike the women Jack usually encounters. No designer dresses, no dazzling jewelry, just a simple apron and worn canvas shoes. Jack sits quietly in the corner, observing. It is his habit, watching everything without making his presence known. While Amelia serves a nearby table, an elderly man fumbles with his cup of coffee, accidentally spilling it. Amelia quickly steps over, gently cleaning the mess and chatting with the man, her eyes radiating a rare sincerity and warmth. Jack is surprised by Amelia's patience as she helps the elderly man rearrange his belongings, even offering him a free pastry. The sight causes Jack to pause. There is something different about Amelia, something he cannot name, but it makes it impossible to look away. A week later, they meet again. That day, the cafe is quieter than usual. Jack overhears a conversation between Amelia and her coworker. "My mom is seriously ill, and the hospital bills are too high. I just wish I could get more hours to take care of her." Jack doesn't think much of it at first, but when his eyes meet Amelia's worried gaze, he knows he is about to make a decision even he cannot fully understand. Welcome to Soul Stories. Today we bring you a heartwarming tale. Let us know which city you're tuning in from around the world. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to catch more meaningful stories. Chapter 2. The Proposal for a Contract Marriage. The small cafe on Greenwich Street had always been Amelia Dawson's haven, a place of peace amidst the chaos of life. But that morning, the usual calm was shattered by an unexpected conversation. Jack Harrington sat at his usual table near the window, his expression cold and focused, though his eyes never left her. Amelia noticed but chose to ignore it. To her, Jack was just another wealthy customer, the kind of man she rarely interacted with beyond serving coffee. As Amelia placed a cup of coffee on Jack's table, she was startled when he called her back. "Amelia!" She froze, surprised to hear him say her name. "Yes, sir?" Amelia smiled politely, wondering if something was wrong with his order. Jack didn't answer immediately. He watched her for a long moment, as if weighing a decision. Finally, he spoke words that left Amelia stunned. "I want to propose marriage for 6 months." The tray in Amelia's hand nearly slipped. "I'm sorry." "What?" She let out a nervous laugh, thinking this must be some sort of joke. Jack leaned back in his chair, his sharp gaze unwavering and devoid of humor. "I'm serious," he replied, his voice calm and firm. "I need a wife, but only in name. After 6 months, you'll receive a sum of money sufficient to cover your family's needs. This is a contract, not a relationship." The air around them seemed to grow heavier. Amelia didn't know how to respond. Marry a wealthy stranger for money? The thought had never crossed her mind. Why me? She asked, suspicion evident in her tone. Jack placed his cup down, locking eyes with her. Because you're different from other women. You're not driven by money or status. I need someone genuine, someone who won't be swayed by appearances or fame. Amelia forced an awkward smile and shook her head. I think you're mistaken. I'm just a waitress. Hardly the right person to marry a millionaire. Jack's gaze didn't waver. You need money, don't you? I know your mother is ill, and hospital bills aren't cheap. I also overheard you mention that your sister may have to drop out of school due to your family's financial situation. His words hit Amelia like a dagger. She took a step back, feeling as if her privacy had been invaded. You have no right to— I don't mean to offend, Jack interrupted, his voice softening slightly. I just want to help. This is mutually beneficial. You get the money you need, and I gain the stability that my family and shareholders expect. Amelia remained silent. Jack's proposal was undeniably tempting, but she couldn't ignore the feeling that accepting it would mean stepping into dangerous territory. Days passed, but Amelia couldn't stop thinking about Jack's offer. Her mother lay in bed, her complexion pale and breathing shallow. Each day, the hospital bills mounted. Her younger sister, Sophie, had taken on extra shifts, sacrificing her studies to support the family. Amelia knew she had to do something, but was marrying Jack the right solution? That evening, as she sat beside her mother, the older woman reached out, her voice frail. Amelia, you've done too much for this family already. I don't want you to sacrifice yourself for us. Amelia smiled faintly, though tears welled in her eyes. I'll find a way, Mom. Don't worry. The next morning, Amelia appeared at Jack's office. As she entered, Jack stood by the large window overlooking the city. He turned when he heard the door open, his gray eyes watching her carefully. I agree, Amelia said, her voice steady though her hands clenched at her sides. I'll sign the contract. Jack nodded slightly unsurprised. Good. You won't regret it. A few days later, Amelia moved into Jack's estate. The mansion was nothing like the world she knew. Grand with towering doors, spiraling staircases, and glittering chandeliers. It was the kind of place Amelia had only seen in movies or glossy magazines. But as she stepped inside, she realized that the lives of the wealthy weren't as glamorous as they seemed. Jack lived alone, and despite the mansion's beauty, it felt cold and empty, much like its owner. Chapter 3. Contract Marriage and the Pressures. Jack handed Amelia a list of events they would need to attend together. It's all for appearances, he explained. You just need to show up and smile. After 6 months, it will all be over. Amelia nodded, unaware that the next 6 months would be far from simple. The wedding of Jack and Amelia took place on a cold winter afternoon at a luxurious estate on the outskirts of New York. Under the glow of golden lights, Amelia wore a simple yet elegant white gown. Despite her stunning appearance, anxiety filled her heart. Outside, the guests were prominent businessmen, politicians, and elite figures from Jack's circles. Curious and disdainful glances followed her as Amelia stepped out of the limousine and into the grand hall. Is that the cafe waitress? A woman whispered to her husband, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Jack certainly has an eye for quality, the man chuckled. The murmurs continued, echoing even though no one dared to confront Amelia directly. But she could feel the cold distance and judgment in the room. Victoria Harrington, Jack's mother, was the most vocal opponent of the marriage. A refined woman accustomed to luxury and status, Victoria placed great value on social standing. When she learned that her son was marrying a cafe waitress, she could not hide her outrage. Jack, what are you thinking? She confronted him the night before the wedding. Our family is one of the most prestigious in New York. You're bringing a cafe waitress into our home? Jack met his mother's gaze, his voice calm. You know this is just a contract marriage. After 6 months, it will be over. There's nothing to worry about. Victoria arched an eyebrow, skepticism etched on her face. 6 months is still too long. You need to think about our family's reputation. She doesn't belong in our world. Jack offered no further argument. To him, this was nothing more than a business deal. His mother's feelings, or anyone else's, wouldn't change his plans. The ceremony was swift and cold. Jack stood beside Amelia, but they exchanged little more than polite nods. As Amelia recited her vows, she stole a glance at Jack, but his gaze remained distant and indifferent. Throughout the reception, Amelia felt like an outsider. No one truly welcomed her. After the wedding, Amelia officially moved into Jack's estate. The grand house was vast but hollow. Each morning, Jack left early and returned late at night. Amelia spent most of her time alone, reading or wandering through the expansive garden. Whenever she walked down the long hallways, she felt the weight of Victoria's gaze lingering behind her. "You know, Amelia," Victoria's voice broke the silence one afternoon when they crossed paths in the sitting room. "You can wear expensive dresses and walk in high heels, but you can't hide your humble origins." Amelia tightened her grip on the teacup but remained silent. She understood her place in the house. "Jack is only playing. When this is over, you'll have to leave. Don't get any illusions." Victoria left the room after her cutting remark, leaving Amelia alone in the cavernous space. Beyond the walls of the estate, the gossip spread like wildfire. At high society events, Amelia became the subject of whispers and idle chatter. "I heard she was a cafe waitress. Who would have thought Jack would stoop so low? It must be her looks. What else could someone like her offer?" Amelia overheard such remarks at a charity gala organized by Jack. Despite the murmurs, she maintained her composure. As for Jack, he paid little attention to the gossip. To him, this was a temporary transaction. But what troubled Amelia was that Jack never defended her, even if he didn't support the rumors. Whenever someone mocked their marriage, Jack merely smirked and dismissed it. "They can say what they want, as long as you ignore it," Jack remarked one evening when Amelia confronted him about the whispers. But how could she ignore it? Despite the disdain, Amelia remained optimistic. Each day she fulfilled her duties as Jack's wife. She accompanied him to events, smiled, and made small talk with guests. In her spare time, Amelia continued participating in charity work, something she had done long before this arrangement. Amelia knew that even if this marriage was just an act, she wanted to leave behind something meaningful once the contract ended. "Just 6 months," she reminded herself whenever she felt overwhelmed. "I just need to hold on until then." No matter what was said, Amelia kept smiling, because she knew that one's worth wasn't determined by their background, but by how they faced adversity. Chapter 4. The Crisis and Amelia's Emergence. A thick curtain of rain shrouded New York on Monday morning, mirroring the somber atmosphere at Harrington Tech's headquarters. Jack stood by the window, gazing at the bustling traffic below. Since the financial crisis erupted, Harrington Tech's stock had plummeted without reprieve. The quarterly financial report revealed unprecedented losses, pushing Jack to the brink of collapse. "We lost 2 major shareholders this morning," Mark, Jack's assistant, announced with a tense voice as he entered the office. "They've pulled their investments and severed all ties." Jack nodded, though the exhaustion on his face was impossible to hide. "If this continues, we'll be bankrupt in 3 months, Mark added, his eyes clouded with concern. Jack crossed his arms, leaning against his desk. "I'll find a way. No one will let this company fail." But even he wasn't sure if he had the strength to turn the tide. That evening, in the spacious living room of the estate, Amelia noticed the weight in Jack's every step. He sat in silence, a glass of red wine swirling in his hand, untouched. "Jack, is there anything I can do to help?" Amelia asked gently. Jack looked up at her, his gaze softening slightly. "No, this is my problem. Don't worry about it." Amelia smiled faintly, but she could see Jack struggling under the heavy burden. Even if their marriage was a contract, she couldn't ignore the pressure he faced. A few days later, a large charity gala was held at the Grand Manhattan Hotel. Initially, Jack had no intention of attending, but with the faint hope of finding new investors, he reluctantly agreed. "Will you come with me?" Jack asked as he prepared to leave. Amelia blinked in surprise. It was the first time Jack had ever invited her to accompany him to an important event. "Of course," she replied with a smile. Amelia wore a simple navy blue evening gown, elegant yet understated. As she linked arms with Jack and entered the Grand Hotel ballroom, all eyes turned toward them. "Isn't that the cafe girl?" someone whispered. "Who does she think she is?" standing next to Jack Harrington. Amelia heard the murmurs, but her smile never wavered. She knew her place, yet she felt no shame. The gala buzzed with lively conversations as businessmen and major investors mingled, discussing upcoming ventures. Jack moved through the room, shaking hands and engaging guests, but things weren't going as he hoped. When he returned to their table, his frustration was evident. "No one's interested. They're avoiding me," he muttered. Amelia placed a comforting hand on his. "Don't worry. There might still be an opportunity." As the words left her lips, Amelia's gaze shifted to the far side of the room. There, standing near the bar, was a familiar face, Henry Thompson, one of the largest investors in the tech industry. Amelia rose from her seat, her smile bright. "Mr. Thompson, it's wonderful to see you again." Henry turned, his eyes lighting up at the sight of Amelia. "Amelia, what a pleasant surprise. What brings you here?" Both Jack and those nearby looked stunned by their familiarity. "I'm here with my husband, Jack Harrington," Amelia said, gesturing toward Jack, who approached with curiosity etched across his face. Henry's smile broadened as he extended a hand to Jack. "I didn't know you were married to Amelia. She's the young woman who helped me when I had an accident during a charity event last month. If not for her, things could have turned out far worse." Jack glanced at Amelia, visibly taken aback. He had no idea she had crossed paths with Henry before. "You're a lucky man to have a wife like her," Henry added warmly. That evening, Henry offered to invest significantly in Harrington Tech. Thanks to Amelia's connection, Jack's company narrowly escaped bankruptcy. As they left the gala, Jack held Amelia's hand a little tighter than usual. "You saved me, and this company," he said, his voice softer than she'd ever heard it. Amelia smiled. "I just did what I could." For the first time, Jack saw Amelia as more than just a struggling cafe waitress. She was a source of hope and strength, even in his darkest moments. Chapter 5. Feelings Begin to Bloom. After the charity gala, Jack couldn't stop thinking about what had transpired. For years, as the head of Harrington Tech, he had always prioritized logic and business interests above all else. But Amelia, the contract wife he once considered just a deal, had begun to shift everything he believed in. Jack started noticing the small things Amelia did. He realized she didn't care about the glamour of wealth or the benefits of being married to him. Amelia remained as humble and simple as ever. Every morning she woke up early and prepared breakfast for the staff in the kitchen, despite them being accustomed to serving their employers. "You don't have to do that, Amelia," Jack said when he saw her carrying a plate of pastries to the dining room. "I just enjoy doing it," she replied with a gentle smile. Jack began to see that Amelia was entirely different from the women he had known before. While others were drawn to his fortune and status, Amelia seemed indifferent to it all. In the following days, Jack started spending more time with Amelia. They participated in charity work together, something Jack had never considered before. On one occasion, they visited an orphanage on the outskirts of the city to donate and help renovate the facilities. Jack vividly remembered the moment Amelia knelt down, gently fixing a boy's coat. Her eyes shone with warmth and compassion, something Jack had never witnessed in anyone else. "I've never seen you this happy," Jack remarked as they sat together after the event. "The kids remind me of my sister. I think that if I can help someone, even just a little, I should." Amelia smiled, watching the children play. Jack didn't say anything, but a strange feeling welled up inside him. It was no longer pity or responsibility born from their marriage contract. It was genuine admiration. As time passed, their relationship grew closer. Jack began to realize that being around Amelia brought him peace. The stress of work and the pressure from his family seemed to fade whenever he heard her laughter echo through the house. In the evenings, they often sat together in the living room. Jack, who used to spend hours handling work, now found himself reading beside Amelia. She would share stories about her charity work or amusing events from her day. "I never thought I'd enjoy sitting quietly and listening to someone like this," Jack joked one evening. "Maybe because you've been living in a noisy world for too long," Amelia teased, her voice light but warm. Jack smiled, acknowledging that Amelia had become an irreplaceable part of his life. Still, Jack couldn't bring himself to admit his feelings. Many nights he sat in his office, staring out the window, thinking about Amelia. He wondered if she felt the same, or if it was just his one-sided emotions. "It's just a contract," Jack reminded himself, but his heart disagreed. Amelia wasn't someone he could easily let go of. One evening, as Amelia tended to the garden behind the estate, Jack stood at a distance, watching quietly. The sight of her in the glow of the sunset captivated him. Jack knew he had truly fallen for her. I can't keep standing on the sidelines in her life, Jack thought, though he lacked the courage to say it aloud. Even if he couldn't confess his feelings yet, Jack realized one thing. He was willing to do whatever it took to keep Amelia by his side. Not because of the contract, but because she was the one who brought meaning to his life. Are you still following this story on Soul Stories? Comment Coca-Cola to let us know you're with us. Chapter 6. Contract Expiration and Separation. Victoria Harrington met with Amelia privately in the luxurious living room of the Harrington estate. Her cold gaze tracked Amelia's every movement. The late afternoon sun cast a faint glow through the large windows, but it wasn't enough to ease the tension between the two women. "Do you think you can stay with Jack forever?" Victoria's voice was low but sharp, like a blade wrapped in silk. Amelia sat upright, hands resting on her lap, trying to maintain her composure. Her heart pounded, but she kept her expression calm. "I never thought I would stay with him long-term, ma'am," Amelia replied softly but firmly. Victoria chuckled lightly, though there was no warmth in her smile. "You may think that, but my son doesn't. Jack isn't a naive boy anymore. He's the head of Harrington Tech, and his marriage can't be based on pity or a fleeting whim." Amelia's hands tightened slightly, feeling the weight of Victoria's words. "You know this relationship is just a contract. When the time is up, I expect you to honor the agreement and leave. Don't put Jack in a difficult position." Victoria's words cut through Amelia like a knife. She knew she didn't belong in Jack's world. No matter how much they had shared, the gap between them felt insurmountable. Time passed faster than Amelia expected. The final day of the contract arrived. Jack seemed oblivious to the change. He continued working late, greeting her with a smile as usual when he returned. But Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that her departure was imminent. The next morning, Amelia left the Harrington estate before the sun fully rose. On Jack's desk, she left a letter, one that held her truest emotions. "Jack, by the time you read this, I will have already left. Our contract has ended, and I know I shouldn't stay any longer. I want to thank you for these past months. At first, I thought this was just a simple transaction. I would help you with your public image, and you would help my family through hard times. But over time, I realized that being with you meant far more than I expected. Jack, you are the kind of man I never thought I'd meet in this lifetime. Your resilience, kindness, and the way you treat others are things I deeply admire. I know I don't belong in your world. The differences between us are too great, and I don't want to be the person standing in your way. Your mother was right. I'm not worthy, but I will treasure these memories forever. Thank you for everything, Jack." Amelia. When Jack returned and read the letter, he froze. He had grown used to Amelia's presence, her smile, the gentle way she had quietly woven herself into his life. The estate now felt hollow, and Jack realized that what he had lost wasn't just a contract wife, but the one woman who had brought him true happiness. Jack sat on the sofa, his fingers tracing over the lines of the letter again and again. For the first time in his life, he felt powerless. Amelia was gone, but Jack knew that if he didn't find her, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Chapter 7. A Happy Ending. Jack Harrington searched everywhere, from the small cafes where Amelia used to work to the charity center she often visited. But she was nowhere to be found. Each passing day made his mansion feel colder and emptier than ever. "Where is Amelia?" The question echoed relentlessly in his mind, leaving Jack restless and unsatisfied. One autumn afternoon, as golden leaves covered the streets of northern New York, Jack received a tip from one of Amelia's old friends. "She's volunteering at an orphanage upstate. She goes there every weekend." Jack didn't hesitate for a moment. He left his office immediately, driving through the windy, leaf-strewn roads. When his car pulled up in front of the orphanage gates, he could hear the laughter of children ringing out from inside. Amelia sat among a group of children, reading to them with a bright smile. Jack's eyes settled on her, the woman he had let slip away. This time, he wasn't going to let that happen again. From a distance, Amelia noticed Jack. The smile on her lips faltered slightly. She stood, making her way toward him, Her eyes filled with surprise. Jack, what are you doing here? Jack gazed at her for a long moment before speaking. I came to take you home. Amelia lowered her head, a faint but bittersweet smile tugging at her lips. Jack, I left for a reason. We don't belong together. Jack stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. You left because the contract ended. But Amelia, I'm not here because of the contract. I'm here because I love you. Jack's words left Amelia stunned. I once thought my life was perfect. Money, power, and status. But when you left, I realized none of that meant anything without you by my side. I don't care about status, your past, or where you came from. The only thing I care about is you, Amelia. Amelia looked into Jack's eyes, seeing the sincerity she once thought she would never find. Jack, are you sure? I've never been more certain of anything in my life. Jack reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, dropping to one knee before Amelia. I lost you once, and I won't let it happen again. Amelia Dawson, will you marry me? Tears welled in Amelia's eyes, slowly streaming down her cheeks. She looked at Jack for a long moment before nodding softly. Yes, Jack, I will. The children cheered and clapped around them, but for Jack, the only thing he could feel at that moment was the overwhelming joy of having Amelia back in his life. It wasn't easy for Victoria Harrington to accept her son's decision. You could have any woman you want. Why Amelia? She asked, her disapproval still evident. Jack took Amelia's hand, his voice calm but firm. Because she makes me happy, Mother. No one else can do that. Victoria remained silent for a long moment. Seeing the happiness in her son's eyes, she realized her protest no longer held any weight. Finally, she stepped toward Amelia, her voice softer than during their previous encounters. I just want my son to be happy. If you can give him that, I am willing to accept you. Amelia smiled, sensing the sincerity in Victoria's tone. Thank you. I promise I won't let Jack down. Amelia was not only the woman who had saved Harrington Tech from the brink of collapse, but she was also the person who brought light and genuine love into Jack's life. Their story spread across New York's financial circles. People no longer whispered about Amelia's humble background, but instead spoke of how she had transformed Jack, a cold, distant millionaire, into a man who cherished love and the simple joys of life. And Jack knew that no matter how many obstacles they faced, true love would always find a way to overcome them. Thank you for following this story. Please rate it from 1 to 5 stars, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our Soul Stories channel.